Hiya guys, how you all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Some 5-6 weeks since I last posted a video, and that is because in the last 6 weeks I became a dad for the very first time. I'm sure most of you regular viewers knew that myself and my partner were expecting a baby. My little daughter Elodie arrived on August the 22nd, so just a week or so before the transfer window closed, and Sky were very kind to give me 6 weeks paternity. So I've been off for the last 6 weeks, obviously keeping abreast of what's going on, been to a couple of the matches, and you know, it's difficult to switch off, certainly in that first week after she was born, because the transfer window was still open, and I think I was providing you guys with regular updates. But once the transfer window closed, I promised my partner that I would have some time away from things, and I have managed to switch off, which has been really, really nice. It's been really unusual because I've probably not actually managed to do that myself at all in the job since the takeover was pushed through just coming up for 3 years ago. So yeah, it's been good. Back in with a bang this morning, live with Eddie Howe at 8:45 in Sky Sports News, followed by his press conference, and talking about the takeover. I was chatting to Eddie about that earlier on today. It's 3 years on Monday since the takeover was pushed through. Where is our life going? Can't believe that's 3 years already. But one of the questions Eddie was asked at his press conference today was what's been the highlight of his time as manager? What's been his favourite match, his favourite moment in the 3 years, almost 3 years since he took over as manager? And it'll be an interesting answer for you guys when I get into it a little bit later on. So I'm going to hot foot back inside, have a little chat about today's press conference, lots of chat about stadium redevelopment or potential move on the back of what we heard from the club during the week, so I'll get into that as well. But just a quick hello from me at the training ground today, and to let you know that I'm back. Okay guys, more to come. Right, here we are inside, away from the noisy diggers and grass cutters and the wind. So yeah, I need to get myself a stick and my microphones back, but leaving everything at home, rushing out the door this morning. It's going to take me a couple of days to get my feet back under the desk and get myself reorganised. It's a bit like coming into the press conference this morning. I'm sat here in Eddie Howe's chair right now, but coming into the press conference this morning was a bit like first day back at school after the summer holidays. So yeah, it felt a little bit strange, but here we are. Anyway, enough about me. You want to hear more about what the manager had to say and the main talking points from the press conference. First of all, before I get into the main talking point, I'm sure you've read it already, but Alexander Isak misses the trip to Everton tomorrow with that toe injury. But Eddie Howe told me in the one-to-one interview that I had that he does expect him fully to be back for the first match back after the international break against Brighton. He also expects Callum Wilson to be back, so it'll be a real boost to have the two of them for that game. Just a real shame that, you know, he's again missing the two of them for the trip to Everton tomorrow. Now Anthony Gordon, I think we all agreed, did terrifically well against Man City. He'll have the bit between his teeth against his old club tomorrow, without doubt. But look, Newcastle are a better team. They're a different animal, with Isak and Wilson battling it out for that number 9 shirt. And of course there's concerns over Wilson's injury record, without doubt, but I think even if he had Isak and Gordon there, they look a lot stronger. So not down to the bare bones, but you know, things not ideal with Anthony Gordon set to play through the middle, because of course it makes Newcastle weaker down the wings as well and gives them less options. But yeah, expecting Wilson and Isak both to be back for Brighton, and he reckons that Lewis Miley isn't too far away after the international break as well. So that'll be music to the ears of Eddie Howe. Trippier, Schär, Pope all had little niggles. All will be fine. But he says Martin Dubravka likely to miss out with that knee problem he picked up in midweek in the cup match. So you would expect either John Ruddy or Vlachodimos Moss, or both of them, to be on the bench tomorrow against Everton. So anyway, let's get into the thing I wanted to talk about before we get onto the stadium redevelopment. And Eddie was asked an interesting question at his news conference today, and it was what is his favourite moment or favourite match been in the 3 years since he took over. Now, although it's not 3 years since he took over, it's 3 years on Monday since the takeover was pushed through. And Eddie arrived a few weeks after that, and he's been here for the vast majority of all the good stuff that's happened. So kind of got our brains racking in here in the press room. Is it PSG, the 4-1, which is exactly a year ago today? Was it Dortmund? Was it Milan? Was it Paris? No. Was it the semi-finals against Southampton to set up a Wembley showdown against Manchester United? No. Was it the annual hammering of Tottenham Hotspur? Any of those? The 6-1, 5-0 up after 20 minutes? Was it last season's? No. Was it any of the 1-0 wins over Arsenal at home, which have all been hugely momentous moments at the time and kind of felt really like the club is moving to the next stage? No. Was it away wins against Manchester United in the Cup or a home Cup win against Manchester City? No, none of those. Guess what it was? And I think this sums up Eddie Howe. It was the 2-1 home win against Leicester City on April the 17th, 2022. Remember that game? Newcastle 1-2-1, 2 goals from Bruno Guimaraes, the second in the dying embers of the game. I think it was stoppage time, maybe 90 plus 4 or 90 plus 5 minutes, diving header. He felt that was the game that kind of made Newcastle safe from relegation that year, which shows everything about the kind of pressure Eddie Howe was feeling and how important it was to keep Newcastle in the league. That match, the one that he felt essentially kept Newcastle up, that late winner, is his favourite memory as Newcastle United manager. So wasn't expecting that answer from him. Incidentally, who scored for Leicester that day? Ademola Lookman got their goal, who of course scored a hat-trick in the Europa League final just a couple of months ago. I was just looking at that as I checked out the game earlier. But yeah, Eddie Howe's favourite moment, that win against Leicester City. Feel free to drop me your favourite moments or favourite matches, or favourite match, should I say, since the takeover was pushed through 3 years ago. God, as I said outside, can't believe that's 3 years ago. I've certainly looked a lot more grey since then, but what I would say is the job is so much more enjoyable to cover now, because we're talking about good things happening rather than, and it was the same for you guys, of course, just existing really by trying to stay in the Premier League every year. So yeah, it's good, it's fun, and I was looking forward to coming back to work today. Now, the main talking point, out with what I've just touched on already at the news conference today, was, of course, stadium redevelopment and potential move away from St James's Park. And that is because, obviously, the club communicated some information earlier this week on the back of the study that they're doing as to what Newcastle will do moving forward, and have essentially promised to make a decision on either stadium expansion or stadium move early in 2025. So although I think to some people, probably to many of you guys, it looks as though the club are kicking the can down the road with this one, I also think they're taking their time to make sure they make the right decision, because it is a generational decision. They don't want to make the wrong one. Eddie Howe touched on that this morning, and it's imperative with all the other issues they've got around about it as to, if they were to move, what land would they be able to buy? If they were to stay, what parts of the stadium could they redevelop? And, we've got the issue with over on the East Stand behind there. There's so many moving parts to this that they need to make sure they make the right decision now and don't look back in 30 or 40 years' time and realise they've made a mistake. So I personally don't think there's any issue in waiting until early next year. And look, it's not as if St James's Park isn't a good place to go and play or watch football at the moment. The place was absolutely jumping last weekend, and it's still a joy to go there and certainly cover the club or watch matches as well for you guys as fans. The difficulty you've got, of course, now is that there's so many new fans who I've probably joined a little bit since the takeover, fans who had given up as well coming back since the takeover, and now the demand is so high that you can sell the place out every week. Eddie Howe said that. He said, look at the match against Wimbledon on Tuesday night. They are 52,000 sellout against League Two side at home. Shows that there's a demand there, and he feels that if that's the case, then you need to ensure that these fans, or as many of them as possible, can get to see Newcastle as many times as they want. He's always been glowing in praise about St James's Park, and he used a big word today, where he was asked how he'd feel if his mind has been changed, if he still feels the same as he has when he's been asked about this before, and he said his natural instinct would be to stay. And he says it would feel like a bit of a betrayal if Newcastle were to move from St James's Park, given how many good times it's given the team and the club. And of course that has been the case since he was manager, but if you predate Eddie Howe's arrival, it hadn't been a nice place to come for a long time. Certainly in the latter years under Mike Ashley, and for a lot of people, a lot of Newcastle fans, they would go there and they would hate their life on a Saturday afternoon watching the team. So although it has been good in recent years, I think it's important to remember that it's not always been like that. And I think for me, looking at it, I'm beginning to come round a little bit to the thought of Newcastle playing elsewhere. I mean, you've not won a trophy in how long playing at St James's Park? Perhaps a new stadium will bring a change in luck and just a new face to everything. Like we've seen Manchester City and Arsenal do that. They had old stadiums that I'm sure they didn't want to move from at the time in the shape of Main Road and Highbury, but they've done that and the clubs are flourishing. Yes, Liverpool haven't done that, but they're able to extend Anfield. Newcastle don't have that same luck, because obviously there's that existing problem with the housing behind the East Stand there. So every club has a different story, and the more and more I think about it, the thought of Newcastle playing in a purpose-built £75,000 seater stadium would be an amazing sight. And I don't think that means St James's Park has to be forgotten for good. There's plenty of good memories there, and look, while it's a huge decision, it's difficult. There are arguments for both. There are arguments to stay and there are arguments to go. But what Eddie Howe said today is, he said, look, St James's Park is, as a visit manager, is one of the best stadiums I've ever played in. He said when we won there with Bournemouth, I think it was around about 8 or 9 years ago, he said, this is no joke. But when I spoke to my staff afterwards, we were just blown away by it, absolutely blown away. He said, we've been to all the grounds away from home. Newcastle was like the one we hadn't been to, and we could not believe how good it was. He said, I'd never managed in a stadium like that. And now he's the manager there. He says he's loved continuing that, and it was one of the reasons why he took the job. And he loves winning games there. So it sounds like he would rather stay, but he also understands by moving to a purpose-built stadium with bigger attendance and being able to commercially drive the club forward, it's going to help with your PSR headroom and be able to bring more commercial revenue into the club, which I think we all agree is the main problem above all else at the moment. The fact that Newcastle are stuck a little bit with PSR due to the rules and regulations that are in place. And that was a bit of a topic in today's news conference, due to the fact it's 3 years since the takeover, the talk of the stadium expansion / move during the week. There was just a lot of talk about, and looking back over the last 3 years, and it kind of makes you realise where the club's got to, how quickly they've got there, but how much they're being held back by PSR. And something like a move to a new stadium could help the club in that regard. So let's see what happens. But interesting thoughts from Eddie Howe there regarding that. My general feeling is, and although I don't have a huge feeling one way or the other, I'm beginning to lean towards thinking maybe moving might not be the worst thing ever. It'd be great if the stadium was still in the city centre, because look, we all love going in on match days, whether it's to work or to watch a game, for you guys as supporters. Love the fact there's all the boozers all round about it and restaurants and whatnot. It'd be great if it could stay somewhere in the city centre, but I think it wouldn't be so good if the stadium had to move out, whether it's out towards the coast or further north or whatever that may be. That wouldn't be great. But as long as it stays fairly central, it might not be the worst thing that ever happened. So that's it for me, guys. We're just pretty much a hi to say I'm back. Hope you guys are all okay. If you've got any thoughts on what Eddie's had to say today, or anything that's happened over the last 6 weeks, because obviously I've missed quite a lot, please drop your comments below. And yeah, looking forward to getting back into it. I was going to say I feel fresh and rejuvenated, but I don't. I had about 4 hours sleep last night. So look, I'm sure most of you've got kids anyway, you know what it's like. But yeah, good to be back. All right, guys, speak to you on the next one. Take care.